And welcome everybody to round 10, Great Britannia. And glad to say the Romans left some time ago, and we're here on our own, hosting our own Grand Prix. Obviously, one of the oldest Grand Prix on the calendar, 1950, the first World Championship round held at Silverstone. And we're back here again to see what can only be described as the greatest race driver of all time, Lewis Hamilton, win at Silverstone. What a glorious day it was. And, you know, basically, all I can say is he realised he wasn't going to win on the track. So he prayed to God. God called the safety car out, and Lewis won. Fantastic. I couldn't be happier, of course. Not only that, he incredibly got the fastest lap on the last lap of the race, and what can only be described as a fresh wind behind him, or at least an extremely powerful Mercedes engine. So I'm dead happy about that. And other than that, there was nothing else happening in the race at all. So just to go through it quickly, though, basically, Valtteri Bottas got pole position, and as a result of that, he also made it first into the first corner. Lewis and he had a wee tussle. They kept their wheels clean. Lewis drove like a pro, of course, but couldn't overtake Valtteri, and it looked like he was going to ruin his tyres, but eventually he decided to hold back a little bit before making another charge, and that didn't work. But as I said, at some point, the Italian whiz kid Giovanni or Gigio Nani, I don't know, whatever. He decided to make a wee mistake by going onto a white line and spinning his car into the gravel. This called out the safety car, wherein Lewis was into the pits just after Bottas had made his first pit stop. Yeah, bad timing, obviously, on the safety car for Bottas. Unfortunate. Otherwise, he probably would have won the race. But nonetheless, Lewis took full advantage, came into the pits, put his hard tyres on, and managed to make it to the end in first place. Unfortunately for the pacey pastry, he was screwed a bit because Ferrari decided to bring in Vettel first on lap 20, I believe it was, and that gave Vettel the position over Leclerc, which turned out to be a bit of a mistake because in a very close bit of racing with Verstappen, unfortunately, Vettel decided to contest the rear end of the Red Bull, and that, of course, was a bit of a mistake. They both went off, both managed to regain the track, but of course, both were hugely hampered by this. Vettel didn't seem to recover. He obviously damaged his car a lot more and was unable to keep his pace up. Vettel went on to do a stunning rest of the Grand Prix, and came home in a good position. Leclerc was absolutely stunning for what he had, racing with Verstappen over the first few laps, and getting the better of Verstappen, I have to say. So well done to that. It's a shame that Ferrari didn't pit him instead of Vettel. Otherwise, I think the result would have been extremely different. But nonetheless, a great result for Leclerc. Well deserved under the circumstances and the way he drove. Other than that, a few other people got caught out by the strategy changes. Norris was out of the points where he deserved to be in the points. And Hulkenberg, unfortunately, had a running in with Perez. And Perez again drove into the back of Hulkenberg, which put him out. So other than that, Lewis all the way, I think. And there's nothing much more I could say about it. Fabio, what were your impressions of the Grand Prix overall? First, and then secondly, how did you think Leclerc did? And thirdly, do you think this is the end of Vettel?
Wow. Okay. Before answering your questions, which you will have to repeat because my memory is fucked, let me just say that, yeah, it's Silverstone, 1950, first Grand Prix, which was won by Alfa Romeo. And they actually had Marc Genet riding the original car from Farina on the track, and the following day Kimi rode the car which came next to that, the 159. And talking about Alpha, they got to the points. I mean, yeah, Giovinazzi made a mistake, which was a huge favor to Lewis, but Kimi made the points altogether. And talking about making a huge favor to Lewis, I know that you get to a certain point where you have to stop talking about luck, okay? Because if luck always goes one way, at a certain moment you got to stop saying that it's luck. But that was as close to luck as I've ever seen, because Bottas already passed, the entrance to the pit, so Lewis was able to get in. I think that the Vettel Leclerc thing happened because they were too close together and didn't want to risk, them to be, you know, one on another on the pit, which, yeah, in inside it was a mistake, but it turned out to be good because Vettel made a mistake. He admitted the mistake and he ran into Verstappen. So uh, yeah, Leclerc made a an amazing qualifying. He made a brilliant race for for what he got. I was pretty astonished by the speed of the Honda engine. That was quite incredible because they were able not to lose anything against the Ferrari. There were a couple of episodes where Ferrari had the DRS open and the Red Bull didn't, and it couldn't gain anything. So that was pretty impressive. So very good engine, and it doesn't break so far. So yeah, good for them. Uh, the thing about Vettel, okay, now this is getting interesting because the guy, I mean, Vettel is very close to what Lewis is. They both won a lot of championship back to back. They both won the championship with the best car. So the two careers are way closer than that you might see on the first side. They seems to be a carbon copy of one each other. Now, is Vettel finished? I don't think so. He admitted the mistake, so I mean, you can't judge a person from one mistake. He admitted that. Yeah, okay. I think that the problems that Vettel have right now, and if you want, we can talk about later because I'm taking too much time. They're mostly technical problems. They're not character or problems that he has right now. Oh, sorry. One more thing before you jump in. Uh, who is the last driver which won a Grand Prix in Ferrari?
Kimi Raikkonen?
There you go. See? So yeah, we're back to Alfa Romeo. So that was a nice circle, right?
Yeah, okay, that's good. Okay, Yales then. Well, you obviously saw the whole Grand Prix, and what did you make of the British Grand Prix this year?
You know what? I thought there was some great racing going on there. I think there was some great racing between Ferrari and Red Bull. I think there was some great racing between Mercedes and Benz. I think there was a lot going on there. But there was as has been the theme of this year, there was a funny call I didn't quite agree with. In the place of there being are we moving on to this yet? Because just give me a little. Okay, good. I think the call was bollocks. Personally, I think that it was a racing incident, and I think that Vettel manned up after the race and said, "Yeah, it was my fault." And absolutely, yeah, sure, I'll say it was Vettel's fault. But at the same time, it's close racing. You can't call everything, to be. Not everything needs a penalty. Not everything needs to be. I mean, at the last race, the guy at Ferrari, I forget the guy's name, but he said, well, he basically said, if that's how we're going to race, that's how we're going to race. And now that, Verstappen didn't get a penalty at the last race, and I didn't think he deserved a penalty at the last race. But Vettel gets a penalty in this race. Explain to me how the two situations are different. There was contact in both.
I disagree. The call wasn't bollocks. That was a mistake from Vettel, plain and simple. There is no way around it. Verstappen was in the middle of the track because he knew that he had a problem on the corner before. He jumped on the side of the
Curb.
the curb. Sorry, yeah, thank you. So he had a little bit less traction, and Vettel had way more speed than him. The problem is that Verstappen knew it, and he was in the middle of the road, and Verstappen did not change his direction. Well, probably a little bit, but it was really imperceptible. The problem was that Vettel tried to go inside, then decided there was no room, and he steered to the right while applying brakes. So he applied brakes with not a full right lock, but the wheels were, definitely going on the right. You lose traction, he bumped into it. That was a good call for the stewards. It was a total mistake, and he admitted that. I don't think there shouldn't be any discussion about that. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. In the case of the penalty was causing a collision, and because he clearly was at fault causing a collision, they have to give him a penalty. I mean, obviously it's an inconsequential penalty, and that's why they applied it during the race. They could have waited till after the race if they thought it was a serious misconduct. They could have waited till after the race, fined him points, possibly given him grid places for the next race. But clearly the stewards just thought it was more of a racing incident, and that he was just at fault for, what should we say, being careless rather than malicious.
Yeah, can just say one more thing before people start to jumping up. One of the stewards was, I think, it was Vito Antonio Liuzzi, which is another Italian driver. The same thing happened with help me out there. No, it wasn't Pirlo. It was who's the other steward which gave the penalty to the Ferraris a couple of races ago. Oh fuck, I can't remember. But he won Le Mans 24 hours a couple of times, 3 or 4 times. I can't remember the name of the guy, but still, he was another Italian guy. So
Some technical difficulties. I didn't hear what anyone said.
Okay.
So there shouldn't be any discussion about who's favoring what and whatever. There were mistakes were made, but people have been really pristine and really clear about that. So that's something that even if I disagree on some of them, that makes me quite, well, I'll say proud, but you can point your finger at anybody.
Okay, just to catch yours up, basically, the rules are if you cause a collision and it's your fault, you get a penalty. So clearly they had to give him a penalty, and they did so, which is quite right under the circumstances. If they thought it was malicious, then they would have given him a penalty after the race, in which case they could have made it a lot more severe and affected the next race. But clearly they didn't think that it was a malicious penalty, that he meant to drive into the back, as I, may have intimated in the thumbnail of this video. Okay.
I don't think it was malicious. No, I agree with you there. And I got to say this. I like that they actually issued the penalty during the race. I think it was a little steep, 10 seconds. And, in modern day F1, there's no way you're going to catch up to a 10-second penalty. But, I will say I'll agree that I like that it was during the race instead of, after, where we have several hours of deliberation and already have the podium ceremony and hand out the trophies and say, oh, wait, did he win? But, Vettel is totally at fault there. I totally agree. I'm not saying Vettel wasn't at fault, and I'm agreeing that it wasn't malicious. And he locked up the brakes, and Verstappen was protecting his line. I respect that 110%. But things happen. They're still people. They're not gods. They're not a computer controlling a car. You want to do that, you play video games. But unfortunately, that's just how it goes.
So, are you curious to know why I said that uh, Vettel problems are technical, or no?
I was just about to lead into that in a kind of a slightly different way, but yeah. Well, I was going to lead into it that this is obviously a lot of mistakes he's made this year, and last year he made a few mistakes which were driver error, and this was clearly another driver error. Unfortunate as it was, and obviously needing cat-like reactions that you do. Um, so maybe he was a bit unlucky in this respect, but nonetheless, still from the best drivers in the world, you would expect zero mistakes. And this was just another, what seems to be a series of errors that he's been making in the last few years. So under pressure, which was my claim some time ago, even when he racing in the Red Bull, I did seem to see that once Vettel got caught, he started making errors. And this seems to be more along the same. When he's under pressure like this, he does have a tendency to make some errors, and I think that may be more of the same. Now, whether it's driver error due to technical ability or to the technical abilities of the car, obviously I'm not so sure. I think Leclerc, doesn't show those same features. But how do you mean this to be a technical problem with the Ferrari?
So there are a couple of things to understand, in my opinion. The first one, I will totally discard the what happened in Silverstone. That was a plain mistake. He admitted that, so I'm not pushing anything about that mistake for the reason that we said. What I'm trying to say is that I'm trying to examine the performances of Vettel and Leclerc this year. Last year he made some mistakes, yes, but last year was really weird because he was ahead in championship, and then the cars were not developed in the same way. So of course Vettel is not the kind of guy which wants to get second. He'd rather get last than second. So of course if you got less than stellar material compared to the competition, you push it to a little bit more and you make mistakes. So that I think is my analysis of last year. Now this year, if you watch the performances of Leclerc and Vettel, right now they are on par. Okay, there is not too much difference between them. If you count the pole positions, and if you count the qualifying, if you count the points, they're there. Yeah, it's true that Leclerc should have won at least one race. That's true. Yeah, I said at least one. Yeah, probably two. That is true. But I mean, we see how things going. There is a guy spinning on the outside, and the other guy goes through, and you're good to get in, and you win the race. So Bottas should have won the race for that reason. So it's complicated. I'm trying to analyze the performances. Now Leclerc is in a very good position right now because he found out himself in being in no pressure at all. Because I mean, of course, Ferrari is inferior to Mercedes, so there is no discussion about that right now. I think about the whole package. So he just has way less to lose, and he can drive in a way more naturally. The guy is a natural. He is part of the new wave of drivers, and I put Norris in there. Sorry, the guy which drives the Williams. I always forget the name, but that guy too.
Russell.
Yeah, Russell. Sorry about that. Verstappen, it's that new wave. There are guys which are serious. We're very consistent. It seems to be they're older than they look. The way they drive and stuff like that. It's a new wave, and he has nothing to lose because the car is the car which it is. It would have been different if Vettel was ahead of the championship. That would be a different problem. But right now, he really literally has nothing to lose. Uh, Vettel, I think, why I said it's a technical problem because if we look at which races, which championship Vettel won, Vettel likes a real precise back uh, back end. Okay, that's what he likes, and the really fast drivers they like a really firm and stable back end because that allows you to get into the corner way faster. I think there is a difference between the way that Leclerc and Vettel drive. Leclerc is a little bit more, he breaks a little bit more deep into the core, into the corner. They're a little bit more pointy, so he gains a lot of speed, but he loses, but he has the corner speed is slower. And that's something I think he has to get better at. Vettel as a high-speed corner. But if you don't have a rear train, which is really good, you don't have confidence, so you cannot drive the way you're supposed to be driving, and that's the way he drives. Now, funny point, because people say that actually Ferrari is understeering, so that would mean that what I said is bullshit. And this is where I'm just throwing that there. I don't think that's the issue. I don't think that the Ferrari is understeering. I think, and this is just from the outside, I have no data, I don't know anybody over there, but I think that Ferrari is oversteering in when they get in the corner, and that causes the understeering. Because there are two ways to have understeering. You either have a loose front, or you have an oversteer. When you get into the corner, you lift the throttle, and the front goes, fuck off. And I think that's the case. And I'm saying that based on the kind of cars that Vettel used to drive and used to win with. So that's why I think it's more a technical problem than a personal problem. He hasn't got the car that he feels confident to drive to the limit with.
Yeah, that would I would certainly back that up in terms of last year. We know Kimi likes a car with a good front end that doesn't understeer, and the performances were fairly even between the two, to be honest. So yeah, I think it's a continuation in that respect, the Ferrari. Um, I'm surprised. I am surprised because Vettel, it always seemed to me, preferred a fairly neutral car. And this goes along with what you're saying, really, I suppose, that he likes a strong front along a strong back end, i.e., a car which doesn't oversteer too much. But if you don't have that strong back end, then you're not going to get a neutral car, are you? Because the front ends are so strong on Formula One cars, generally speaking.
Right.
That's where they want them to be.
Yeah, but it's a balance, because if you don't have a strong back end, you cannot pull that much speed in the corner.
Yeah.
If you are that kind of driver, okay, if you're the driver which just breaks deep in the corner, makes a really pointy apex, and then goes out, that's not a big issue. But if you're a driver which wants a very high speed in the corner and you don't have a very good backhand, what it happens is that you've got to lift because you lose the backhand.
Sure.
And if you lift, you lose the speed, and when you lose speed, you lose downforce, and the front end goes, fuck all. So
like
I think
a Porsche.
that is the chain of reaction which is happening in Vettel car right now. That's only my I have nothing
Yeah.
to value my data with.
Well, we're gonna check that out. Don't you worry. There are enough circuits coming up where we'll see whether that's the case or not. Okay, Yales, what did you think about Vettel's overall performance this year? Do you think he's losing it, or is this just Ferrari style?
Hard to say.
Which suits him.
Hard to say. I was wondering if Fabio is trying to say that Ferrari maybe even wants a little understeer. They want it over the oversteer because the oversteer is too violent. And is that what you're trying to? I'm getting like a shaking your head, or is you just scratching your head?
No, what I'm trying to say is that if you have a car which is oversteering when you get in the corner, not mid corner when you apply the throttle, just when you get in the corner, and that can happen for reasons. Okay, what happens is that if you oversteer in the entrance of the corner, you've got to do things in a way that you will end up with understeer, and that that what will be um, um, told by the drivers. They will tell you that, yeah, the car is under steering, but it's not that the car is under steering because it cannot bring that speed in the corner, and the front wheels cannot cope with the speed. It's because the car gets in the corner in such a way that it's unbalanced, so the front end just goes fuck off.
Yeah,
Are
and of
you
course,
talking?
this
Oh,
has ramifications for tire wear as well. Of course, if you have a car which is too front end reliant, then of course the rear end is likely to slide and therefore generate more heat and wear the tires quicker. So again, this could be a solution for Ferrari in terms of their tire heating issues and getting to grips with these new tires this year. I just wanted to mention tires in this episode, of course, but that's just another way of doing it. But sorry, Yales, go ahead.
oh no, it's okay. Fabio, are you saying that the Ferrari is a little like you know how they say about old school Porsche 911s? Not the new fancy 911s with the all-wheel drive and bullshit. But you know how they used to say about old 911s that you're not supposed to lift in the corner. That it's basically it's a counterweight. And it's heavy in the back. So you're saying when you lift, the back causes problems.
No, it's
And
it's not that. No. It's not that he lifts in the back. So that what was happening with the old 911s. It's more like an old American muscle car with a stiff rear end. That the moment you turn the wheel, there you lose the rear end, even if you don't apply gas. And when you lose the rear end, you lift the throttle because you don't want the car to spin, even if it's just a moment. The moment you lift a little bit, the front end just fucks up because it's not balanced anymore, and you lose the front.
no,
Yeah,
I think that in a lot of ways that the Ferrari is a muscle car. I think that they should go back to putting the engine in the front, have a big block V8 up there, and just run it in Trans Am.
yeah, very funny. Yeah, okay. So, I mean, you're not strictly wrong. I mean, it probably would help with the front end grip, but nonetheless, the other thing I wanted to mention is this acceleration, or not, what I believe is more of an acceleration issue between the Red Bull and the Ferrari. I think Ferrari probably geared their ratios a little higher for to give them better acceleration at the mid to top speed. And traditionally, Red Bull give, like McLaren, usually gear a little lower in the rev range in the gears in order to give better acceleration out of corners. Of course, one wears tires more than other, and that could be another pointer that Ferrari are doing this in order to save tires.
It might be. I don't know if it's acceleration. I will watch next races more closely, because I haven't thought about that. Because my impression was that it wasn't really acceleration. It was mostly really top end. But you might have a point. I don't know. It might be that they have such a better acceleration that they carry on, up until the end of it. I will watch about that. I'm not really sure. The thing about the engines is that, and let's forget about Mercedes right now. But the thing about the engine, I think that the Ferrari engine I think it is still better than Mercedes. And I think they can get way more power, especially in qualifying. They have that little notch that I think it is superior to all the engines right there. Uh, what to me is really surprising is that apparently the Honda engine is able to run way higher during the race, which is not something that we were used to see up until last year. Because the moment they did that, it was usually burst in flames. Yes, so that's really interesting. It is a very good engine overall. I think on average it I wouldn't say it's better than Ferrari, but in some aspects it is, because I mean, and we don't know if from the next race they will have to start changing shit because it's completely worn out. We don't know that. That might be the case. That might be that they say what we don't win the championship. We just make good races and fuck it. Because who knows if Giovinazzi spins another time and I'm the lucky guy getting in the box this time, right? And Verstappen might think about that.
Assuming that's the case, right? I mean, it would be pretty remarkable if Honda was suddenly to turn up after all these years with, the second best engine on the grid, right? It would be
Yes.
absolutely remarkable. So I'm assuming that towards the end they're going to be taking more penalties or not doing so well in terms of, they could be clever in that when it comes to the high downforce circuits, which don't need so much power, that they're relying on the Red Bull's great aero. That's also a possibility. So we don't really know which way round they're going to do it, but I'm assuming that come some of those races, they're going to start taking a few penalties for engines.
No, you're right. That's another very good point because I still have got to figure out if Red Bull is really running with a lot of downforce or not. I'm still puzzled by that because the kind of performances they had through several circuits. I mean, I would be on the side that the Red Bull is a lot similar to what Ferrari is. Really high efficient and uh, uh, so they sacrifice downforce, because of the efficiency of the car. While Mercedes, we said that before, it's not really that efficient, but it can run a lot of downforce because they've got a good engine and the car is overall superior. So fuck it, they can do whatever the fuck they want. So with the Red Bull, I will still maintain that they're way more similar to Ferrari in concept, or maybe McLaren if you want to find another car which is similar to Red Bull as a concept overall.
Yeah,
Uh,
I would go with McLaren myself.
yeah, but I'm still puzzled. By
Efficient,
that.
right? Efficient with high downforce, the ability to put high downforce on the car still. And not to say that they do every race. They probably, I think Red Bull compensate by running a lower downforce than they might otherwise be able to. But for some reason, their chassis allows them to work the tyres well. Now, this could be because of the front end suspension that they developed a couple of years ago,
It,
perhaps.
it, it might be, and again, I don't know. It might be just the case that they said, what, we're gonna run. We know we cannot run these engines properly, so we run it, to the end of it, and at the end of the year, we're gonna change engines like there is no tomorrow. That might be the case. That's the first year that they got the Honda engines, so I think it's they are learning to. I
Yeah.
think they were quite surprised, by how good they were, to be honest.
Yeah, and again, I wouldn't disagree with that necessarily. And also, maybe they've worked strictly on reliability, so therefore, although they don't have such a great amount of power, their
It's
engines are still lasting at a reasonable level. Whereas the Ferrari and the Mercedes, maybe not so much. They can't turn them up as much, etc., etc. The
it's
cooling
it
issues of
yeah.
Mercedes would point to that, and also Ferrari bringing in a engine upgrade earlier than they need to. Maybe that was done as an excuse because they've been pushing their engines too hard. So again, there's still so many variables and unknowns at the moment. It's really difficult to judge exactly what the grid's doing this year. Which
No, I know it's a funny thing because you've got to consider the project overall. I mean, look at McLaren. Okay, last year they couldn't finish a race for the sake of it because the engines were, exploding. And I don't think that has been such a big step from last year to this year on this engine. The thing is, I think it's more, that the the Honda engines are way better integrated in the Red Bull project as a car, and the Renault engine are way better integrated in the McLaren project as a car. So one might be a little bit more um, thin at the back, so the air might not flow the way it's supposed to be, so the engine suffer. It's I mean it's very complicated. When especially when you are a team like all the team basically, besides Mercedes and Ferrari, that you don't have the full control of both the engine and the car and the aerodynamics. you get to a point that you actually have to take a big lump of metal and put it in your project. So yeah, I mean, you know the measures, but you think you might be smarter than those guys. It's a little bit more complicated.
Yeah, agreed. Yes. What would you say were your impressions of this race compared to the others in the season?
Yeah, I thought it was fairly competitive. It was actually, like I said, it was a good battle between the teams. And, I think that no matter what Red Bull's doing, I think that they have an advantage of Adrian Newey. And I think that I think that aerodynamically and in the corners, by the way, I mean aerodynamic. Ugh, I've been working on aerodynamics all week. I think it's just in my head now. Uh, no, I think that the Red Bull can take a corner much better than the Ferrari, as is evident from the little shunt there. And I think that I think it was a great battle, and I think Leclerc though is definitely a young superstar on the rise, as was mentioned before. And I think that you know what I think is the best thing in the McLaren this year, the best upgrade they've put in the car all year, Lando Norris's ass.
Well, I would disagree with that.
He's certainly a young superstar on the rise, and it led me to thinking, unfortunately, where does he go from here? If the McLaren's going to continue to struggle, where's his next ride? Where do you put him? I mean, talked about Vettel maybe going back to Red Bull, so I guess that would open up a place at Ferrari, unless they're going to bring in another young academy driver. Which, oh, you want to say something?
Well, I can't see Vettel going back to Red Bull. I mean, not when they've got Verstappen signed up for the next 2 years. Verstappen's like the bolt-on man in that team now, and there's no way they're going to employ a second driver which isn't in the Red Bull stable, which Vettel, of course, isn't. So Vettel's stuck at Ferrari, as far as I can see. He's got no teams to go to. He either makes Ferrari work or he's done his career, as far as I can see, which is harsh, but that's the way Formula One goes. It's
well, I have been also hearing some rumors. I mean, they're stupid internet rumors, and it's basically a celebrity tabloid to some extent. But they have been saying, like I said, that's where I got the is he going back to Red Bull rumor? And now I think the rumors are, is Vettel ready to retire? And I don't think. I think he's still got some years in him. And a friend of mine actually said, he actually said to me, why is Kimi still sticking around in the Alpha? Why is he? I got a look from Fabio on that one.
Well, there's 14 million reasons.
I'm a big Alpha fan, and I think they're the prettiest car on the grid. But
to be at Alpha.
Why is he going to Alpha? He's Kimi. What's he going to do if he's not in F1? Where's he going to go after this? He's going to go to IndyCar or
no. Listen, I mean, Kimi's situation is totally different. The guy is the only guy on the grid, which is, I mean, if tomorrow they say that the F1 championship is closed, he wouldn't give a flying fuck. Because the guy literally has a life. He was so happy to go back, in Sauber and Alpha, because they're in Switzerland and they're close by to where he lives. The guy actually has a life. So I wouldn't say that he drives as a hobby, but okay, he's the kind of guy that if he decides mid-season, to say, you know what, I'm done with it, I don't want to race anymore, he will stop.
Like Niki Lauda did.
Well, Niki Lauda was a little bit different. Yeah,
he was a lot different. I mean, Kimi
there's some similarities with Lauda.
Absolutely, they're both extremely quick drivers. But Kimi is a world champion already. He's a world champion with Ferrari, so those two things he's not going to better. I think the real
champion.
Sure, the real thing here is that he was on an extremely large amount of money at Ferrari the year before, and to go from that to nothing is quite large. He's getting paid a lot of money to be at Alpha, more than their team can really afford. So why wouldn't he want to finish the year and get paid his 14 million or whatever he's rumored to be being paid? And especially, as you say, it's down the road. He doesn't have to do much for it. He's got less contractual obligations as an F1 driver than virtually anybody on the grid. Okay, because that's the way he likes it. He doesn't want to go through all the promotions. He doesn't want to go and do all the rubbish that goes along with being a Formula One driver. And if he doesn't want to, he just says, no, I'm not doing it. Yeah, he drove the Alpha right round Silverstone. Okay, that's about the only thing he's done outside of racing the Formula One car that I can think of. Right?
I mean,
it's racing an Alpha, right? You know what I mean? He's driving an Alpha.
Listen, I mean, I'm really fascinated by the guy. I mean, the guy was in Ferrari. He won the championship. He went away. He started driving rally cars. He went back in Lotus, and then he went back in Ferrari. I mean, you gotta pay respect to that guy. He drives off-road bikes, right?
I'm a big fan.
And they asked him when he was in Ferrari. They asked him, "Okay, is Ferrari okay with you? Driving motocross bikes?" And he said something on the line, "Yeah, I mean, I've told them, yeah, they're okay. Well, I mean, I would do it anyway, but I mean,
yeah,
exactly."
My little story is that when he first joined Ferrari again, they've turned up for the first day at work, and of course they put Vettel into the simulator, and Kimi turned up like 3 hours, 4 hours late, and just went, "Nah, I'm not doing any sim work. Yeah, it's not for me. Sim work, nah. I'll have a look around, see what's going on, have a look at the engine on the bench, see if that's okay, and then I'm off. You know what I mean?"
Yeah.
Whereas
whereas
Vettel, no, he went, okay, I'll get in the simulator. Hang on, let me see what it's like.
But it's a different approach. And the funny thing about Kimi is that regardless of who you are, of what your approach to work is, they all respect the guy. And they don't not only respect the guy because he's a little bit, mad. They respect the guy because he's blazing fast. That guy, I mean, one of the first times that Kimi went on the scenes was when he tried Sauber in Mugello. And he tried, and at the time there was Ferrari with what I think is the greatest driver of all times, which is Schumacher. And I know you might disagree, but I think he is. And Schumacher was driving on the same track with Kimi on the Sauber. And when they got back to the pit, Schumacher asked, "Who the fuck is this guy?" Because this guy is fast. And he was driving the Ferrari, which he won the World Championship the year before and that current year. And the guy was driving a Sauber, which was basically, put together with, duct tape and, wood screws. And he said, "Who the fuck is this guy?" Because this guy is fast. Now, if Schumacher says that the guy is fast, that's good enough for me. I mean, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, fair enough. He is a natural. There's no doubt about it. He does like a strong front end, and presumably that's why he wasn't too sad to get away from the Ferrari. But there you go. Yeah, I think. Is there anything else to mention? Yeah, else did you want to?
Oh boy. You shouldn't ask me. Rich Energy. Rich Energy. What is going on now? Huh?
Yeah.
About the little that some guy sent out, and I don't know if there's a whole thing about a tweet that a guy sent out, and they were like all up in arms about that. But there was also a thing that Rich, I think more or less, I forget if that was the tweet or it was the thing where they said that driver finished behind Williams, and we don't that's not up to par with us. Blah blah blah. Now neither of their drivers finished, and the whole thing was and Haas put out a thing that said no, we're not finished with Rich Energy. Blah blah blah. But now what? And you know what? I think Haas needs to find a new sponsor. Not because they're not doing well. I think it's too shady. I swear this is a front for something. This is a front.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to go with that, Simos. So yeah, I'll let you the word because the story is a little bit different. But yeah, you go ahead, Simos. I think you know the story.
I'm not totally familiar myself, but I'm assuming that this is more connected with the business decisions of Rich Energy, and that maybe that they're not getting quite the advertising take up they thought they'd be getting. Go ahead.
No, but I mean, sorry, before you go on, because it's even more ridiculous than that. It's Steve McRae level of ridiculousness. So no, really. I mean, when I tell you what it is, you will laugh your ass off.
Okay, can you define an energy drink for me first, please?
I have no fucking idea. But the thing is that the CEO of Energy Drink made a tweet, okay, and said, what Yale said, we are behind. I think he mentioned Renault or stuff like that. Said, yeah, we are getting out all the money. Now the thing is that the guy which made the tweet, it was the CEO of Energy Drink, but he was fired. So he had the user and passwords of all the social accounts, and he changed them, and he made the tweet. Yeah, I know, right? It's ridiculous. So the company has already the company has already said, no, that's all the bullshit. Or either the company or the team, I don't know. But apparently that's the story. The guy which has been fired, it just made that tweet. I don't know what the fuck possessed him, but he changed the password of all the social media because he had it, and he just made the tweet. It's insane. It's really funny.
I heard that he had promised 35 million in perpetuity. Is that
Yeah, maybe 50-50. I don't know between him and who, but yeah.
One of us is getting whacked before the next race for revealing this information. And Simos, you're British, so you're probably closest. So everybody keep your fingers crossed on this one.
Right. I literally live a minute down the road from where they're based in Richmond. So
have you tasted it?
I haven't even seen it on the shelves, dude.
No one can find it. I heard they found like a can at the Indy 500.
Yeah.
And someone said it tastes like piss. Not to go down that rabbit hole.
Well, yeah. But tasted Red Bull. I mean, come on.
So the mission for next Hangout is that the three of us have got to try and find one can of that energy drink and show it on the Hangout. I'll do my best. I don't know where to find it, but yeah, we got to try to do that.
I'll give it a go.
I think you can only order it in like a giant case. And don't they didn't they do a thing where they have like a net worth of like $8 as a company or something like that? Like it sounds like a front. It just a front or like an insane PR stunt, as in like they're gonna go, it was all a joke. There's the third Red Bull team.
Well, remember, of course, this was the company which was going to try and buy what turned out to be Racing Point. So, which was the Force India at the time, right? They weren't.
That's appropriate.
They weren't allowed to do that because obviously an offer came from a more stable businessman, i.e., Lance Stroll's dad. But there you go.
Gentleman, sir.
But there you go. I mean, you never know. I mean, what could have happened, right? So at least us have taken a bit of the bullet in that respect. But if again, I'm assuming that it's more to do with this lack of sales, which they'd been hoping for as a result of the advertising from Formula One. And I think because
lack of sales, we can't find a can.
Yeah, because he hadn't, because he would been making these inroads into Formula One, and that was really his goal. I think the deal he made, promising 35 million to Haas, was probably a bit on the rich side. Boom, boom. Okay, so yeah.
I'm sorry. Wasn't he the same guy which was involved with last year buying McLaren or Williams? Is he the same guy?
Force, yeah, same guy. Force India.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, Force India. Yeah. I mean, that guy's a fucking amazing. I want to meet that guy. If you live close by to him, can you take a picture of the guy, and better still, if you can have him sign an autograph and send it to me? I'm a big fan because that guy is, is either mad or he's a motherfucking genius.
Well, he's a genius. clearly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't know. I said, mad or genius. There is nothing in between.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. Again, I think because Formula One slighted him, I think that's why the deal was done with Haas as a okay, I'll take advantage and see if I can get something out of this. But anyway, we'll just have to see how things go in the future because you never know. Haas is saying that if they get their money, then they're going to keep the name on the car. So we'll just have to see if they don't keep the name on the car, then presumably they're screwed up for the rest of the season because they would undoubtedly be relying on 35 million.
Yeah, I mean, again, my info is that it's all a massive, fuck up from one guy. But I mean, you can read the news and figure out.
I don't buy that at all. I think, I don't buy that at all.
Well, listen, the story is so stupid that it might as well be true.
Okay, well, I mean, if he grows his beard, I can just goatee out. I mean, you know what I mean? Chops it off.
No, but no.
We'll know who he's copying.
I don't think it's the same guy. I mean, I don't think it's the owner, the face. It was a CEO of the company which got fired and had the account. So I think it's another guy, not the the bearded crazy guy which went to to court.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, not the Steve McRae lookalike. Okay.
Yeah, not Steve McRae. I think it's Reds. The minion.
Can we just call this Steve McRae Racing?
Oh dear.
Anyway, next race is in Germany.
Yeah. Okay. Next race. Yeah, Germany, and we'll find out whether the Red Bull have the acceleration upper hand. We'll also find out whether I believe Germany is a rear limited circuit, so that'll be quite interesting to also test your theory on the Ferrari as well. So we should be getting some more answers in the next round. Although I would expect Germany being Mercedes' home circuit, that Mercedes are going to dominate once again. So yeah, I would imagine we'll get very little change for the rest of the year, maybe until we get to Monza, wherein I'm guessing Ferrari will put a new engine in, and we might show some pre-season form. Other than that, I think we're done with the British Grand Prix. Fantastic race for Lewis. Well done. Fastest lap. He almost got the Triple Crown, which of course is getting close to Schumacher's record for them, which is from pole to finish with the fastest lap. And I think he only needs one more to match Schumacher. So he's right on Schumacher's tail. And all we can say is I heard in the news the other day he said he'd probably be around for another 5 years. Is that Lewis? And for that, I would thank you both very much. Thank you, Fabio. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you. Hey, real quick.
Yep.
Can you put an image on the screen here?
You can share it, and then I'll highlight it.
Hang on. I'm on the richenergy.us site. Clicked on the products. No products were found matching your selection.
Okay.
And it's here. I mean, didn't they get sued over the logo or something?
They did.
Like that, and they're still using the logo. And
well, they changed.
This is a
similar logo, but they did change it. So
it doesn't look different.
But there you go. But maybe that's why there's no product out there, because they had to recall it. But I've never seen any, to be honest with you. I live in Richmond, or very close to, and yeah, I would have thought I would have seen them around in the shops and stuff, but nothing. So they're certainly not coming out of the factory close to Richmond, if they are coming out of a factory around here. So yeah, I would concur. Anyway, yeah. So yeehaw to Yales and ciao to Fabio.
Yeehaw!
Thank you very much, guys.